Hi, my name is Jim Comiskey, and welcome to a video training program on sales, pet store sales. I was in the pet industry for a total of 12 years. During that period of time, I saw a lot of salespeople, particularly new salespeople, a bit timid about going up to customers. I even saw it with experienced salespeople. I think it's part of the fear of rejection. Well, we initiated a program called Service Selling. Actually, what it is a 6-step process. It takes the salesperson from the beginning of the program or beginning of the sale all the way out to the end of the sale. It's very effective, and you'll see that program during the course of this videotape. It has 3 major advantages for you. The first is that it takes the stress out of selling. It becomes a win-win situation. You get on the side of your customer. That's important. And the second advantage is that there's a lot of customer satisfaction in this process. Your customers leave the store very happy. They know you really care about them and their pets. The third advantage is for you. You get a real pride in your job. You learn how to do it well, and you become a very effective salesperson on the floor. During this program, you'll be watching a seminar I conducted for salespeople just like yourself. I'll pop back in on occasion and underscore some of the issues. Incidentally, there was a slide program during that presentation, and you'll see on your screen what the audience saw. We begin with a discussion of creating satisfied customers, how important it is for your store, and what part you play in it. Because satisfied customers give you a lot. They give you a lot of sales because they're repeat customers, they come back often, and plus the fact that they spread the word. Satisfied customers spread the word. One of the most powerful marketing tools available in retail is the word-of-mouth advertising. Satisfied customers tell anywhere from 7 to 10 other people about their pleasant experience. So that's what you want, satisfied customers. And so in selling, how do you make a customer satisfied? Well, you start off by having a friendly atmosphere. Make a friend with a customer before you try to make a sale. That's important. When customers come into your store, greet them all. There's no reason to ignore any customer. Be very responsive to them. Be accessible to them. If there's anything you're doing in the store and there's a customer there, make sure that you're focused on that customer. Nothing's so important in your store than your customers. They also want you to be knowledgeable. They want you to know about the products, and they want you to know about them. They want you to know what their motivations are, and they want you to be intimately familiar with the products so that you can match the products with their needs and wants. They also want you to be well-groomed. 85% of our impressions are made visually. And well-groomed means that when a person comes into your store and you're well-groomed, that first impression is a positive one. And after that positive impression is made, they pay better attention to you. One of the other things that they really want is they want to know you care. You see, your customers don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Care about them and their pets. And how do you do that? You ask good questions, you listen to them, and you really focus in on them. There's only 2 steps to the service selling approach. Step 1, find out what the customer needs. Step 2, sell them all of those products that they need to get the job done right. See, that takes the stress out of the sale. The customer gets on your side, the buying resistance goes down, and you're able to get the job done. You see, a lot of people think talking's the most important thing in sales. I think listening is. Customers buy for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. This is a little bit of the psychology of selling. They buy to solve a problem or to feel better. Experts say that about 80 to 90% of all buying decisions are made emotionally, and the rest are made with logic. Actually, what happens is you make a buying decision emotionally and you back it up with logic. Consider this factor. Do we really buy clothes? No. We buy style. We buy clothes to become attractive. Those are emotional decisions. Henry Ford made a classic mistake when he had the Model T. That was some years ago, certainly before Toyota and Datsun. He had this Model T, and he had about 60 to 70% of the business, and he was proud of the fact that he could go to his executives and say, they can buy our Model T in any color as long as it was black. It was a classic mistake, because about that time, people were saying, I'd like my automobile in a different color, thank you. They were making an emotional statement about color. Color is emotional. People make statements about color of their cars, color of their clothes. That's an emotional decision. Think about a computer, small business computer. When a small business owner goes out to buy a computer, is that small business owner buying bits and bytes and RAM and hardware and software? No. They're buying solutions to their inventory problem or their mailing list problem or accounts receivable, accounts payable. What they're really doing, though, is they're getting control over their business. That's an emotional decision. And beyond that, they're trying to make more money. That's a very emotional decision. What are the emotional reasons people buy pets? Certainly it's the companionship and love factor. How about the entertainment? Certainly it's entertaining watching kittens and puppies playing. With tropical fish, it's the entertainment factor plus the relaxation. I think it's important for you to understand what motivates your customers to buy. Because when you do, then you're able to talk to them about what's important to them. We're going to return to the seminar and start to discuss the 6 steps of service selling. We begin by talking about preparation. I think it pays to practice. I'm not talking about a canned sales pitch here. That's out. People don't do that any longer. But they do practice things like the questions they're going to ask. They do practice the words they're going to use in greeting customers. You can practice it with the people in your store. You can have sales meetings on this. You can practice it with friends if you can get them to sit down long enough. I used to have a young woman working for me that said that she practiced in front of her Cocker Spaniel. This Cocker Spaniel was an extremely patient Cocker Spaniel. Used to sit there during the entire presentation. And she knew she was getting through to this Cocker Spaniel when he started to wag his tail. It was Cocker Spaniel talk for, I'll take it please, thank you. So think about practicing before you, what practicing does, it really improves your confidence. You get out there and you know what you're going to say before you say it, so it makes it a lot easier. The first step is to greet all customers. There's no reason to ignore a customer. They want to be greeted. They don't need, though, can I help you? Or may I help you? What does that typically get? No thanks, just looking. It's an automatic response. We're so conditioned to that today. So I'm going to make a couple of suggestions. Strike that from your vocabulary. Just rule it out. Replace it with, hi, how are you? Hi, nice day today, isn't it? Just simple opening remarks that connect with your customer that don't get that, no thank you, just looking response, because that breaks the connection. There are 2 kinds of customers in our stores, the browsers and the shoppers. The browsers normally need a little bit more room. Well, certainly you have to greet them, but the shoppers sort of center in on a department. If they pick the fish department, you can go up to them and say to them, how large is your tank? Or what kind of fish do you have? If they pick the dog department, the collar section perhaps, you can walk up to them and say, what kind of a dog do you have? After they answer that, you can say, perhaps I can help you with the right collar for your dog. I think this first stage, the greeting stage, is very important because it sets the tone for the rest of your presentation. The second stage of the process usually begins when the customer says something to you. They need some help. They telegraph that message to you. And so this is the time to start to build the rapport. And you build rapport by asking the right questions. Here's where preparation comes in. Prepare these questions. I suggest that people have between 10 and 15 questions that they can ask customers about the needs and wants that they have so that they can establish an understanding of what those needs are. Write those questions down on a piece of paper. That's the preparation stage. And then listen intensely, because that's when you're going to find out what they really need. And once you find out what they need, Then you can solve their problem or make them feel better with the products that you have. Before you start to sell, you must know what to sell. This is where the good questions come in. Suppose a mother comes into your store and wants to buy a small animal for her son. You might start off with questions like, how old is your son? Have you ever had a pet like this before? Will your son be totally responsible for taking care of the pet? This is where you're building rapport with the customer. You're getting on the same side as the customer, and you're creating that win-win situation. Now we return to the seminar to discuss benefit selling. Present benefits. People don't buy features or facts. They only buy benefits. Change all of the features and facts to benefits. Let's go back to that computer analogy for a second. When you go into a computer store to buy a computer, you don't care about software or hardware or any of those things. You care about solving your problem. So think about this as an exercise. Take a piece of paper, draw a line down the piece of paper. Take a few of your products. Place on the left-hand side the feature or the fact about that product. Then on the right-hand side, put opposite that the benefits. How is this going to benefit my customer? What's the customer benefit here? And then start framing your presentation in terms of benefits. You can use the feature and the fact, but always right behind the feature and fact, this is what it's going to do for you. See how that works? It's a transition. People don't buy features or facts, they buy benefits. What's in it for them? Let's take a look at this situation of feature and benefit with a product that you sell a lot of, wicker beds. Feature, rugged construction. Customer benefit, virtually indestructible, lasts for years. Feature, pet has its own place. Benefit, your dog won't select your best chair or your bed. Feature, washable cushion, easy to maintain. You can do the same thing on power filters or flea products. If you want your customer to really respond to your presentations, then you have to frame them in benefits. What's in it for them? Now, what if your customer has an objection? In sales, you're always going to have objections. Here's a couple of points that might make that objection solution process a lot easier for you. First of all, listen to their objection. Don't interrupt, don't debate. You never win an argument or a debate with a customer. You may look like you win, but they have the ultimate choice here. They can exercise an option and go someplace else. So don't try to debate or argue the objections. Listen intensely to their objection. Then the next step is to express understanding. You may say something like, I understand exactly how you feel about that. That expresses that understanding, puts you on the side of the customer. You're not in a win-lose situation. That's what the customers don't like to see. They don't like to see that win-lose situation. If they think they're going to lose, they stiffen up. They come up with more objections. So express understanding. And then the next stage is to return to rapport. Remember, the rapport stage is asking questions. Return to the rapport stage and start asking questions. Back to the computer analogy for a second. The customer says, that's too expensive. I didn't plan to spend that much money. They have an inventory problem. And the salesperson says to them, I can understand how you feel about that. Computers do cost a lot of money. But could I ask you a question? Always get their permission to ask questions. Could I ask you a question? Yes. You mentioned that your inventory was out of control. How much money do you lose on an annual basis by having the wrong inventory? Overstocked on some things, understocked on other things. How much ill will are you creating with your customers not having the right orders out there? Let the customer get back to why they came in, the purpose, the need, the want. And you can do that by going back to rapport and asking questions. Let the customer solve their own objection. That's important. Let the customer solve their own objection. You can't argue them back. You can't debate them back. Let the customer get involved in it. It's important to keep the customers on your side even when they raise an objection. Sometimes those objections don't mean that they don't want to buy. It sometimes means that all they need is more information or better reasons to buy. Now we move to the fifth and the sixth stages of the sales presentation: buying signals and closing the sale. Buying signals. Salespeople miss this a lot. Buying signals are when the customer is mentally ready to buy. They'll tell you. They'll tell you either verbally or they'll tell you non-verbally. The verbal one's a little bit easier. Sometimes you'll have a customer say, "That's exactly the product that I need." The sale is over, folks. Make sure that you wrap it up. They may say something like, "Tell me more about that warranty program." Or they may say something like, "Do you take personal checks?" The sale's over. Have you all been in that position where you sold somebody or tried to sell somebody and you keep on talking, filling the void of silence, keep on running out those features, facts, or even benefits? They're all the way out there, and pretty soon the customer says, "Well, I'll have to think about that," and they leave. And you say to yourself, "I could have stopped that sale about 15 minutes ago if I just was listening." It happens all of the time. You oversell. So look for those buying signals. The nonverbal buying signals are a little trickier. They may be just the nodding of a head saying yes, or they may be just an open stance. Once you get telegraphed that there's a buying signal, then I think that it's important to wrap the sale up. That's important. Once the buying signal is given to you, wrap up the sale. Be prepared to recommend. And when you recommend, give them 2 good reasons why they should take the product. I was in a department store recently, 2 or 3 months ago. I was buying a shirt and a tie. I'm a little colorblind. I'm a little nervous about buying things like that. And this salesperson came up to me and she said, are you interested in buying that shirt and tie? She first said, "Hi, how are you?" Nice smile. And I said, "Well, I think so." And she said, "Well, that's an excellent choice. That color combination is just perfect." And then she said, "Are you planning to wear that shirt and tie with that suit?" And I said, "Probably." And she says, "That will work great. You'll look fantastic." Well, I darn near fell over myself racing her to the cash and wrap counter. She gave me 2 good emotional reasons why I should buy that shirt and tie. It was the right color, emotional decision, and it would look great on me, very emotional decision. So think about that. Give 2 reasons why they should buy a product when you recommend it. Now there's a couple other ways to wrap up a sale or close a sale. Think about the choice close. This is where you ask them whether they would like to pay cash or charge. That's the department store close. That's the only one they train them in. In department stores, that's the only training process they use. But you can use it. Or you can ask them whether they want it in that color, or they want it in that size or that size. Give them a choice of 2. It's called the chocolate vanilla close. And the reason why they call it the chocolate vanilla close is, think about it. You've got a 5-year-old in tow, and you go into a Baskin and Robbins, 31 flavors up there. And you say to the 5-year-old, "Johnny, what flavor would you like?" And Johnny says, "What do they got?" And you read 31 flavors. You'll be there for a week. On the other hand, if you say to Johnny, "Do you want chocolate or vanilla?" and Johnny says, "Chocolate," you're out of there in seconds. So give people choices, 1 or 2 choices, but not much more than that, particularly if they're not familiar with the product. That just confuses them. Just take it down to 1 or 2 choices. If you can get people to say yes a number of times, yes, that's the right size, yes, that's the right color, yes, that's perfect, they can't say no. It's once you get those series of yeses, then it's very difficult for them to say no. There's even a better one, and I think that this is the best one. Just simply ask for the order. Just say, "Why don't you come up to the cash and wrap counter and we'll write this sale up." Just simply ask. You will sell a lot more if you just ask. Closing the sale is an important part of the sales process. And it doesn't have to be that difficult. As a matter of fact, it can be fun and personally rewarding. When you do it right, you know that the customer walks out with the products that they need, but most of all, you know that the pet is being properly taken care of. Now we're going to go back to the seminar and discuss a story which highlights that particular point. A friend of mine told me the story about going into a paint store recently. She went into this paint store to buy paint and all of the equipment to paint a room. She hadn't done much painting, and she was leaving it up to the salesperson to recommend the products that she needed. So they sold her some paint. She was going to paint 2 colors. Ceiling was going to be a different color than the walls. And they sold her some paint, they sold her a roller, they sold her some drop cloths, and she went home. She rolled out the drop cloths and there wasn't enough to cover the carpet. And then she found out she didn't have an extension on the roller. So she went back and bought the extension and bought the drop cloths. Then she got back to the house and she found out that she couldn't really trim the line between the ceiling and the wall very well. So she went back and found out that she had to get an edger for that. By the time this whole thing was through, she had been back to the store 3 times for different products that she needed to get the job done right. She was frustrated. That store personnel, or that person in the store, didn't do her any favors. In fact, he did her a disservice. So think about it. Sell them all the products that they need to get the job done right. Selling pets and pet supplies can be a very rewarding experience, particularly if it works. And it'll work a lot better if you use the 6-step approach. Greet every customer in a friendly way. Smile and say hello. Build rapport by asking questions to discover exactly what your customers need. When you present your products, talk in terms of what's in it for them, customer benefits. When you solve objections, don't argue with the customers. Step 5, buying signals. Be ready to help them buy by being aware of when they're ready to buy. Finally, recognize one of the most important things that you can do is recommend that they take the product. They want you to help them make the decision. If you think it's right for your customer, tell them so. You're the pet expert. Remember, when you help your customers, you also help their pets. Good luck to you in your pet retail selling career. Thank you very much.